Overwhelmed with guilt, Robert Sugden has finally revealed his darkest secret to Moira Dingle in Emmerdale. Moira has recently been freed from prison after being held on remand over accusations of human trafficking and double murder. Viewers were left shocked when Joe Tate blackmailed Robert into planting passports belonging to Celia Daniels and Ray Walters exploited workers inside her home, all as part of a plan to seize control of Butler's farm. Had Robert refused, Joe threatened to hand over an incriminating recording of Victoria Sugden killing her half-brother John to the authorities. Moira refused to back down and would not sign away her share, but after learning that Cain had been diagnosed with prostate cancer, she realized the struggling business was adding even more pressure on him. Joe later made Robert the tenant farmer, and he renamed the land Emmerdale Farm as a tribute to the Sugden family's farming history. Now out of prison, Moira has found it difficult adjusting to life with the other Dingles at Wishingwell Cottage, and sees little hope in their new Dingle Farm venture. She has been spending her time helping Robert in an attempt to regain some normality. Robert has repeatedly turned down her help, fully aware that he was responsible for her imprisonment. In today's episode, upset that Cain forgot her birthday, Moira returned to Emmerdale Farm once again, offering her assistance. Robert insisted he didn't need her help, but still gave her a belated birthday gift to show his appreciation. He handed her 3 framed photographs of the old butler's land, discovered in the attic and originally taken by her late daughter Holly. He then mentioned preparing her some food, which immediately raised her suspicions. Sensing something was wrong and wanting to ease his burden, Robert finally admitted the truth. Moira was stunned and initially believed he and Joe had worked together to take her livelihood. However, after discovering that Victoria was being blackmailed, she rushed out and attempted to inform Cain. Cain had just argued with his brother Sam and refused to talk, giving Robert a chance to head to Wishingwell Cottage in an effort to stop her contacting the police. Moira explained that she sees Victoria as a daughter and would not involve her, but warned that she still intends to tell Cain everything and advised Robert to keep his distance when the truth comes out. How will Cain respond? Dawn Taylor's exit storyline has reportedly been confirmed in Emmerdale as she finally uncovers Joe Tate's true nature. Next week, the truth begins to surface as Dawn is forced to see scheming Joe Tate for exactly who he is. Although Joe has never been a saint, Dawn has been clinging to hope that he might still change and become a better person. However, Joe's long list of ruthless actions has now gone too far, including ordering the destruction of Holly Barton's memorial tree, framing Cain Dingle, and blackmailing Victoria Barton after terrifying her. Dawn has usually stayed out of Joe's darker behaviour, convincing herself there is still good in him, but she could not ignore the allegations about Holly's tree and confronted him directly. Joe denied any wrongdoing, brushing it off as a mistake, and Dawn accepted his explanation, but warned she could never stay with someone capable of something so cruel. His secrets continued to unravel when Robert Sugden told Dawn that Joe had filmed Victoria during her deadly confrontation with John, and later used the footage to blackmail her into giving up her share of Butler's farm. Once again shaken, Dawn was horrified not only that Joe failed to help Victoria, but also that he exploited the situation for personal gain. After pleading his case, Joe convinced Dawn to give him another chance, and she told him he must confess anything else he is hiding. Joe insisted there were no more secrets left, but his biggest crime is about to come to light when the truth about his role in Moira Dingle's imprisonment is revealed. It emerges that Joe blackmailed Robert into planting fake passports and IDs at Butler's farm to frame Moira and force her off the land so he could take control. As a result, Moira was arrested on serious trafficking-related charges and wrongly linked to a criminal operation in the village. She lost her home and farm, while also facing the possibility of a long prison sentence away from her children, including Kyle, who had already lost his mother Amy. To make matters worse, Cain had been diagnosed with cancer, leaving Moira terrified her family could be left without either parent. Moira was later released when Robert, racked with guilt, uncovered proof of her innocence in the trafficking case. In upcoming scenes, while helping Robert at the farm, he finally admits his part in the ordeal. Shocked and furious, Moira urges him to go to the police, but Aaron argues there is no benefit in dragging it further, especially with Cain's upcoming surgery and stress. Aaron also points out that Robert was only a tool used by Joe, and that Joe is the real villain responsible for everything Moira has suffered. Taking this in, Moira decides to act on her anger and heads to Home Farm armed with a shotgun, echoing a past confrontation she once had with Jamie. How Joe escapes that situation remains to be seen, but Moira then shifts her focus to Dawn, revealing Joe's full involvement in her downfall. Now the question is whether Dawn will finally reach her breaking point. With Joe warning that one more betrayal would be the end of their relationship, will this be the final straw that destroys everything between them? And with Olivia Bromley reportedly set to leave Emmerdale, could Dawn's heartbreak at Joe's hands be what leads to her exit from the village? Cain and Moira Dingle's marriage is under serious strain in Emmerdale, as a new spoiler video teases growing tension between the couple. Cain turns to his late father Zach for guidance, speaking honestly at his graveside as he worries about the future of his relationship with Moira. Moira has recently returned to the village after being wrongly imprisoned on murder charges and is struggling to rebuild her life after losing Butler's farm. At the same time, Cain is dealing with the emotional impact of his prostate cancer diagnosis as he prepares for surgery, leaving him increasingly withdrawn. The pressure from both sides has pushed the couple apart, with their relationship beginning to feel fragile and uncertain. In a special episode focusing on their marriage, Moira becomes increasingly concerned about Cain and confides in Chas Dingle about how bad things have become between them. Meanwhile, Dr. Liam Kavanagh notices that something is wrong with Cain and attempts to get him to open up. Liam arrives after being encouraged by Moira, who believes Cain needs support but finds him unusually closed off and difficult to reach. Cain eventually admits that he is considering cancelling his surgery, fearing the long-term consequences it could have on his life and relationship. He confesses that the idea of staying the same feels safer than risking major changes that could follow the operation. Cain is particularly worried about side effects, such as erectile dysfunction or incontinence, and how these could affect his future with Moira. The storyline highlights the emotional and physical impact of prostate cancer, with Cain struggling to accept what lies ahead. After speaking with real-life sufferers through Macmillan, Cain's fears are shown to reflect genuine concerns many patients face when making similar decisions. Liam later relays Cain's decision to Moira and Chas, leaving them shocked by his reluctance to go ahead with the surgery. When Cain finally opens up to Moira, he confesses his deepest fears about how the operation could change their relationship. Moira reassures him that her love for him will not change, no matter what happens, and tries to give him confidence to move forward. The question now is whether her reassurance will be enough to change Cain's mind, and whether their marriage can survive the pressure they are both under. Emmerdale airs on weeknights at 8 p.m. on ITV1, or you can stream it from 7 a.m. on ITVX and YouTube.